Hi, friends, and welcome to Only Green, a trained freshwater ecologist with a special focus on river biodiversity. Dr. Vidyadhar Atkore is our guest for the day. During his master's, he did a study on Himalayan streams and found that these ecosystems are the most fragile ones on the earth. He also documented more than 45 fish species which were exposed to various anthropogenic threats such as dynamite fishing, sand mining, etc. During his PhD, he did a study on fish based on the various conditions of the river water they live in, and also he assessed how native fish communities responded to the effects of dams in river systems of Karnataka and Goa. His postdoctoral research done at Arunachal Pradesh studied the impact of hydropower dams on the native fish community. Currently, he is a scientist in the Landscape Ecology Division at the Salim Center for Ornithology and National History, Coimbatore. Let's hear from Dr. Vidyadhar Atkore. Welcome, Dr. to Only Green.
First of all, thank you very much, Abraham, for inviting me for this session. I'm extremely delighted to be part of this, the session that we are having today.
Thank you. Let's first understand from you how you developed your love for nature and especially rivers, freshwater rivers, and the life in that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see my previous history, like in the sense that I belong to arid region of Maharashtra, which is a Marathwada region, where I did my schooling and college. And for my graduation college, I went to Ratnagiri, College of Agriculture, Dapoli, where I pursued the bachelor's in forestry. And during my undergraduate courses, I began developing love for the wildlife, and subsequently I got into Wildlife Institute for completing the postgraduate courses in wildlife sciences. And during this our introduction or orientation stage of our course, we were exposed to the Himalayan landscape, and it is the time that wading through the small streams and larger rivers was a really exciting experience for me. Coming a region, the fact that I come from the arid landscape, which is the water scarcity region, and then you have been exposed to the floodplains and the diverse riverscapes. So this is the area that I thought I should carry on from academic work. Partly because the underwater biodiversity is poorly documented in the country as compared to the terrestrial biota. So this was the reason I thought I should take this ahead, and I began my career in this direction.
Okay, I mean that is how you developed your passion. But then I've seen a lot of videos where you are talking about the importance, significance of the rivers. I mean, what is so significant about rivers when you say that we all should be caring about our rivers?
Yeah, rivers or freshwater biodiversity is something we all undervalue. Scientifically, less documented. But when you look at the amount of fractions that freshwater constitute on the surface of Earth, it's a very tiny, less than 3% that we have.
However, out of which only about 1% is usable.
Yes,
potable.
Less than 1%, in fact, is potable, and we can use it based on our groundwater and surface water, streams and rivers. But another interesting fact is that nearly 51% of all fish found in the freshwater that is available in the world. Isn't it that's striking?
Okay.
And this is the reason, and not just the fish, is also forms a very important diet component for many marginalized communities, and it provides the cheapest protein source for fisher communities across the world. So besides the importance, there are many ecosystem services in the form of drinking water, water for irrigations, generating electricity and things like that. Also cultural and social aspects of the freshwater systems are innumerable. So looking at these dimensions, I thought, how best we can try and understand the ecological aspect of these systems.
That's how you became so vocal about care for our rivers.
Yeah, so that's what I began my career focusing on rivers actually.
Okay. What in your view, what are the major threats that our freshwater ecosystem is facing today? Because I've heard you talking a lot about dams affecting the upstream, downstream ecology, all these things. I mean, what are the major threats that our freshwater ecology is facing today?
Yeah, I think when you look at the Indian freshwater system itself, we have many conservation challenges today. For instance, whether it is a declining water quality or quantity, which means access to fresh water, overexploitations or habitat fragmentations because of hydropower dams, pollution, and the spread of invasive species are the key threats. And these are the global threats that has threatened aquatic biodiversity by large. You know, the recent report that we've published in 2020, which strikingly brings out this fact that since 1970, we have lost more than 90% of big migratory fish species in the world.
Okay.
Big in the sense that, fish which measures more than 30 kgs. Nowadays, we are there are very few or very rare occasions that you get to see such bigger fishes. So, so the extinction crisis for freshwater biodiversity itself is a very alarming fact, and we need to really do our basic homework to try and understand how ecology is how ecology can be very well understood, so that we can develop conservation measures or conservation strategies in the future.
What are some of these major threats? I mean, if you can pinpoint a couple of
as I said, the overexploitation of natural resources, including overfishing by means of destructive fishing practices. River sand mining is another major threat, which basically affect the potential breeding and habitat grounds of many native fish. Invasive or exotic fish species have also become a nuisance in many terrestrial as well as the reservoir as well as the water bodies all over the country, and we have not been able to contain that species as such. So there are many species which have been cultivated for our food as a primary food source, but we have not given a due cognizance to regulate their population.
Can you also touch upon the effect of dams? Because I think that is one of your passionate area of study.
Yeah, certainly, because we are the top dam nations, only second to the China, right? Okay. And when you try and understand the river ecology literature, most of the impact of the dam studies have happened in the developed countries, where they have very systematically and properly documented the loss of riverine habitat and its implications on the dependent biodiversity as well as livelihoods. When it comes to tropical countries like us, we have not been able to generate that basic ecological information that can help us try and understand how dams are responding, dams are affecting the biodiversity. We all know that construction of big mega projects can lead to the loss of riparian forests, livelihoods, but also how aquatic biodiversity is affecting is relatively less known. So that was my key questions in the PhD and subsequently for postdoc also, where I was trying to understand how the effect of small to large check dams and barrages impact the freshwater fish diversity in the rivers of Karnataka and Goa. And this I took ahead, try to understand the impact of hydropower project on the native biodiversity of Arunachal Pradesh. Yes.
Okay. And continue.
And one of the interesting finding of my PhD study was that given the catchment, given the river basin is extremely modified because of number of check dams, barrages, it is still possible to find species below the dam which are found in the upstream section of the dam, and that we call as a species recovery. So what we hypothesized earlier was that and try and test it, because that how much is the species recovery below the dam, provided that you have number of dams in the catchment. And the major findings suggest that it is the contribution of undammed, undisturbed tributaries that are joining below the dam effectively led to the recovery pattern.
Okay.
And during this period, the many fishes are finding these small streams and catch streams and other stream habitat for their foraging, for their navigation effectively, but not against the main channel because we have obstructions there. So this was the key finding, and this also help us understand how water chemistry below the dam is also being ameliorated because of the contribution of fresh water that comes from the tributaries. So what we came forward as a policy measure based on this study is that given a 500 catchment square kilometer basin that you have, it is essential to retain at least minimum 5 to 10 tributaries which are mid-sized tributaries in the catchment, which leads to perform the role of species recovery. Yeah.
I mean, other than this, the policy implementation that you were trying to suggest, I mean, what could be the major steps that we need to urgently look at to restore or control the threats and maintain a good freshwater system? It could be in terms of we as laymen, we as common public doing something, and also on a policy level decision from the government level.
Yeah, so policy level decisions are taken at government level, which is the key thing. And we all, as activists, as a scientists, as a conservation practitioners, and the local persons, we need to engage ourselves with the government at every level. So as a scientist, I can suggest that it is important for us to generate the basic ecological data that can inform policy level, interventions. As a researcher, one could, try and publicly try and make an awareness about the aspects of different freshwater biodiversity that we have, and what are the conservation threats that have been impacting not just the biodiversity but also dependent livelihoods. So the making awareness is a key thing, and in many dimensions that we still lack. I think it's very important for everyone to join hands together, because studying wildlife or studying the freshwater science is just one discipline. But when it comes to address such conservation or contemporary environmental issues, one has to look at multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary approach to join hands and come together to work against such threats.
Okay, I mean, you mentioned about creating an awareness. Maybe I also found all these data only when I started studying about your profile. I mean, otherwise, I mean, these things are not really out in the common domain.
Right.
Domain. Yeah. So that's something. Awareness creation is something which we need to do on a regular basis, on an urgent basis.
Correct.
I think it's a really good point. Now you work as a scientist in the Salim Center for Ornithology and National History. What is your profile, or what is your role there?
So currently the position is scientist in the landscape ecology division, where the main the task is to undertake different research projects, write proposals, secure grants, and also teach master's level and PhD students that we have it here.
Okay, and the projects that you're involved with?
I am involved with a few projects currently. One being I'm also part of this long-term ecological monitoring program that was funded by the Ministry of Environmental Forest in 2020, where I'm a co-PI for the Western Ghats region, where I'm looking at the fish aspects, the monitoring of fish populations in selected sites in the Western Ghats. And this is a multidisciplinary project that involves many institutions in the country, of which Western Ghats is one such region. Other project, I've recently secured a grant from the Department of Science and Technology, and which is on the looking at the prey-based assessment of critically endangered bird called white-bellied heron, and it is the second largest egret in the world. and we have very small populations in the northeastern part of Arunachal Pradesh. So I'm hoping to initiate this project very soon.
Okay. These both are government funded projects.
These are government funded projects. Plus we also have another project which is again funded by MOEF, is to look at or to prepare the state level action plan focusing on all the aspects of birds. So I'm coordinating for the state of Uttarakhand, where I already studied, and now the idea is to develop that and take it forward with the key stakeholders to prioritize conservation action so that it can be addressed.
From studying freshwater ecology, now we've moved to other fields also.
Yeah.
Because even interdisciplinary coordination.
Correct.
Okay, if there is a message that you want to tell our viewers, what could be that? To make a greener world, a better world for our future generation, what could be that message?
I think it's. I think younger generation is already very well aware about our environment, but what needs to be done is to actively participate in research projects, try and read as much as possible, and write your local issues, make it widely available, make everybody understand that science is not a very easy subject to understand. So make efforts to understand and popularize this science so that everybody can not make a mistake of difficult concepts, especially, so that it can be easily translated into the simpler language. I think this again comes with the proper training, and we have a very well-established institutions where students can engage by participating in different research projects of the scientists or research personals in the country by simply contacting them, finding out the availability, and I think reading is the main thing. Yeah.
Now, if there is, if somebody wants to get in touch with you regarding their clarifications, where can they reach out to you? How can they reach out to you?
They can email me. They can get in touch with me on WhatsApp. My mobile number and email address is available on the SACON's website. So I would be most happy to help anybody.
Okay. Right then, thank you, Dr. Vidyadhar, for that really insightful discussion. It was really fruitful in terms of gathering a lot of information regarding freshwater ecology and also other topics to make this world a better place. It was really, really good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Abraham, for having me again. Thanks a lot.